You know, we've all heard it a million times. Failure is the best teacher. It's this go-to mantra for resilience, for getting back up after you've been knocked down. But is it actually true? Today, we're going to put that old saying to the test and see what the science has to say about it. Because honestly, when you really start digging into the psychology of how we learn, the answer is way more complicated and a whole lot more interesting than you might think. To really get why, we've got to look at this fascinating study from 2019. The researchers designed this incredibly clever game to figure out how we actually learn from our successes versus our failures. Okay, so the setup was pretty simple on the surface. Researchers got about 400 people and tasked them with learning a totally made-up language of these weird symbols called runes. They'd see two characters and have to guess which one meant something, like animal. But here is where it gets super sneaky and brilliant. In that first round, the feedback they got was a complete lie. See, the participants were secretly split into two groups. Group number one, no matter what they guessed, was told every single answer was correct. Great job! And group number two, they were told every single answer was wrong. Now just think about that for a second. After round one, everybody had seen the exact same runes, they had the same amount of actual information. The only thing that was different was how they felt. Then it was time for round two, the real test. So since both groups had the same info, you'd probably expect them to perform about the same in the real game, right? I mean, that only makes sense. Well, the results weren't just a little different, they were night and day. The group that was told they were succeeding in round one, they totally soared. They learned the language and shot to the top of the ranks. And the group that was told they were failing, they just kept on failing. It's a shocking result, right? And it really makes you wonder, what on earth is going on inside our heads when we make a mistake? So why was there such a huge gap in performance? What happened to that second group? Well, the answer starts with a pretty simple truth about how failure actually makes us feel. Let's be real, one of the biggest hurdles is just that failure hurts. It's genuinely painful. We all like to see ourselves as smart, capable people, and failure feels like a direct threat to that identity, so our ego just goes into full-on defense mode. And you can literally see the emotional toll this takes. In a survey after the Rune study, the failure group's self-confidence had totally cratered. And that feeling, that demoralization, it's not just a small thing. Because, and this is the real kicker, some studies have found that when we feel incompetent, our brains can actually just disengage. The threat to our ego is so big that it literally sabotages our ability to pay attention to the very mistake we just made. It's like our brain tunes out to protect itself. But hold on, our relationship with failure isn't always that simple. It actually changes, and pretty dramatically, depending on how much we already know about something. Okay, let me give you a great example from a 2011 study. Researchers went to American students in both beginner and advanced French classes, and they asked them a really simple question. What kind of feedback actually helps you learn best? The difference was striking. The beginners, the ones who were just starting out and building their confidence, they wanted praise and positive reinforcement. They really needed that encouragement to keep them in the game. But the advanced students, totally different story. They were already all in. They were hungry for critical feedback because they just wanted to get better, faster. For them, failure was just data. So if failure is so tough to learn from, especially when we're just starting out, what's the alternative? Well, on the flip side, success gives us something that failure almost never does, a clear blueprint. Let's use an analogy we can probably all relate to. Taking an exam in school. So, picture this. You just got a test back and you totally aced it, an A+. So what do you learn from that? Well, the lessons are crystal clear, right? You know your study method worked. You know you studied the right stuff. You literally have a direct, repeatable plan for what to do for the next test. It's a roadmap to success. All right, now let's flip it. Imagine you open that same test booklet and you see a big, fat F staring back at you. The first, and maybe only, question that pops into your head is just, why? And this right here is the biggest problem with learning from failure. It's so ambiguous. The signal is just noisy. Did I not study enough? Did I study the wrong things? Was the test just unfair? Was I having an off day? It's incredibly hard to figure out what exactly you're supposed to change for next time. So after all of this, where does that leave us? What's the smarter way to think about our own growth and learning? Look, the desire to analyze our mistakes isn't a bad thing, But if we only fixate on our failures, it becomes way too easy to completely forget about and even devalue all the things that we're already doing right. So here's the big idea. Maybe the most powerful way to grow isn't to obsess over what went wrong, but to consciously figure out what you're doing right and then do more of that. Success gives you that clear blueprint for the future. It really is just a small shift in focus, but it can make a massive difference. You move from a mindset of just fixing what's broken to a mindset of amplifying what actually works. So I'll just leave you with this. What is one success, big or small, that you can take a look at and decide to build on today?